This video is made for you, the client, the one who is thinking on hire someone to use a drone at your event. Drones are very popular now and everyone wants to have them in their event just because they're cool to have. And they are indeed worth to hire, especially because of the unique moments they will be able to capture. But these are the 10 important things you need to know about the person you are hiring to fly a drone at your event. Number 1. Make sure it's a camera drone. There's 3 main kinds of drones. Toy drones, cheap, light, some of them with cameras, but designed just to play around with. They're not meant to professional purposes. Racing drones, these ones are capable of flipping and flying at very high speeds, but again, these are not meant either to cover professionally an event. Camera drones are the ones who are meant to cover events professionally. Their main characteristic is that they're not as light and small as the other ones. The movements are more elegant and slow, which is the best to capture cool photo or video shots. Number 2. Ask for an experienced pilot. Try to avoid the guy who just bought the drone last night and he's pretending to learn how to use it at your event. Even if the person is known for being good at other things, piloting an aircraft is always something new for everyone. If possible, find someone who has been flying drones for more than a month at the least. Number 3. Flight time. Meet with the aerial footage provider to develop a drone photos or video shots plan or expectations. It's always important to ask the pilot how many batteries his plane is pretending to use. Each battery lifetime varies from 10 to 20 minutes of flight time depending on how new the battery is. See if that amount of time fits the needs of your event. Take also into consideration that flight time does not mean production time. Sometimes the pilot needs some time to get into position to take a certain shot. Number 4. Invasion of privacy. Even though drones are very popular among people like guests or crew members at your event, there are certain situations in which they can feel aggravated or interrupted in some way. Remember that drones are noisy. Make sure that you're planning to use it in a moment where propellers and noise and blowing wind will not affect others. Number 5. It's not a toy. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are 3 different kinds of drones. Camera drones are more robust and can easily harm someone. As usual, the most vulnerable are always the kids. Take children presence into consideration when you're making your shot planning with the drone pilot. Both parties have to agree that safety comes first under any circumstances, even if that involves not using a drone in a precise moment. Number 6. Places to fly. Outdoors, where you need no permit. Take in mind that sometimes it's just not a good day to fly. Responsible pilots or aerial footage providers must have in their contracts, as any other service provider, that if the weather conditions are not favorable, the drone cannot be used. The most common example of these conditions are windy day. Even though most recent drone models are capable to fly in windy conditions, the footage might not be as expected and the risk of losing control of the craft will increase. Rainy day. Drones are not waterproof, so flying in this condition will indeed cause a malfunction. Electric storm. This is a tricky one. Before a storm comes, it might look like a good idea to fly it for the last time before it rains, but the sky will be already full of electromagnetism, which will interfere with the communication between the aircraft and the pilot. This is probably the worst case scenario if we want to talk about radio control. Will be the pilot against the sky, and guess who's going to win? Now this one is very easy and obvious. Flying near to airports is prohibited in most countries and not recommended in any. They say you must be at least 5 miles away from them, but try to plan the flight a little farther than that, just in case. Indoors, where you might need a permit. Even though some places can be very accessible, allowing providers to use drones, Please do a radio signal check with the pilot and the drone just to make sure the metal or any other material of the building will not cause much electromagnetic interference. Every building will cause some. Just make sure the pilot is able to handle it for the required time. Remember that cell towers or electric lines also cause interference. Planning your flight before the event will always be the best thing to do to avoid those obstacles. Number 7. Drone requires attention. When you are hiring a production crew to cover different areas with different equipment, aerial shots among them, make sure there's someone dedicated to the drone. Ask your provider to designate someone especially for that. Multitasking on that job is not a good idea. Number 8. Do not expect much photo and video footage. As to this point, you know that the drone photographer or videographer will not be as versatile as a ground one. So please consider that the amount of material will not be as much as the other services. However, it will have much more impact than the other ones just because it's aerial. Number 9. Registration or license is a plus. People recommend to always hire licensed or registered pilots to fly drone at your event. That's absolutely a good idea. However, licenses and certifications are not cheap, so if you want to contact someone with this qualification, expect to pay more because of it. Think on your event and the place to see if it's really worth it. Just remember, it might be unlicensed, but never unexperienced. Number 10, and the most important, prudence. To conclude this, take in mind that every flight of a drone is different and always brings new temptations to do. Look for a team that works with prudence and will make everything possible to put safety first, even if that means putting the drone down.